Hello friends, it's the Stitches. Several years ago, I moved into a very run-down duplex, and since the yard was completely destroyed by the previous tenant, the management company that we rent from basically let us do whatever we wanted with the yard within reason. So I tore out the weeds in what originally appeared to be flower beds and planted some herbs and veggies there. I made a few videos about it back then, including one where I grew and cut open a watermelon that I knew going into it was probably going to be fairly disappointing, but those were the before times. Unfortunately, the whole not leaving the house at all for a couple years really did a number on my mental health, and I still haven't really fully recovered from it, and my garden has really taken the brunt of the fallout from that. My lack of ability to take care of it allowed the flower beds to completely revert to their overgrown state. So in this vlog, I'll bring you along with me while I pull up all the weeds and plant new flowers. Now that you've seen the absolute state of the flower beds, my first step is to cut back the tallest overgrowth to make pulling up the weeds easier to deal with. So I'm just grabbing handfuls of straw grass and cutting it back. Here's the result of day one. Already a very dramatic change, as well as a very dramatic blister on my thumb. A small casualty was this strawberry plant. Of everything that's still surviving in my garden, my intention is to keep as many strawberry plants as I can find. This one, however, did get accidentally pulled. My plan was to take it inside and keep it in some water to regrow the roots so that I could replant it, forgetting, of course, that I have 3 cats, so it did not survive. The next day, I moved on to the other flower bed on the other side of the steps. I got through about a third of it before heavily tiring myself out. I did want to at least deal with the rosemary bush before calling it a day though. The rosemary had simply gotten too big and too woody to simply be cut back into a manageable size, so it just had to go. Once it was gone, it cleared up a lot of space. Unfortunately, after all of this, we were hit with a rather unbearable heat wave, and I simply did not want to be outside. So I took a week-long hiatus from this project, and I spent that time working on other things that you'll see in my next video. But for now, it's time to return to gardening. My first day back, I cleared the majority of the remaining straw grass on one of the flower beds. This particular flower bed just needs to have the smaller weeds pulled and then it's finished. But my endurance is not exactly fantastic, so that concludes day 3. On day 4, I started to dig up the denser clumps of the straw grass that were growing between the rocks that define the edge of the other flower bed. For someone who habitually skips arm day, and leg day, and all of the other days, this was quite a workout for me. In the interest of saving time, I skipped filming the more nitty-gritty work of pulling the smaller weeds, so let's just see what the fully cleaned up flower beds look like. The before and after comparisons are unbelievably satisfying. In the process of pulling up weeds and digging out roots, I found a lot of little bits and bobs and broken toys, which remind me that one of the previous tenants had not 1, but 5 kids living here. But plain dirt lots aren't that pretty, however, so now it's time to buy some flowers. It's a bit late in the season to try to grow edible plants, so I stuck to decorative ones. I couldn't resist getting a basil plant though. I like to make my own pizzas at home, and a little fresh basil on top really elevates the whole experience. I also have a couple plants that were left over from when my mother-in-law planted her own garden this year, so she gave them to me. Also, I've been accumulating various composts and soil enrichers and potting soils from years of growing indoor plants prior to moving here, and in my current home, I don't actually get enough direct sunlight through my windows to grow plants inside, so these have just been sitting in storage. I decided to use what I could and toss what I couldn't, so it wasn't just sitting around collecting dust anymore. Before planting my flowers, I moved my strawberry plants around. A couple of them were in less than ideal locations, but that's a simple fix. I wound up with 2 decent-sized plants and 2 itty-bitty baby strawberry plants. I doubt that I'll be getting any berries this year, but we'll see what happens. Next, I took all my flowers out of their temporary pots and arranged them on the flower beds to determine their placements. Once I decided where everything was to go, all that was left for me to do was to just dig a little hole and gently lower the plant into it. Also, if we could just not bring up the fact that I'm continually wearing the same outfit throughout the whole video, despite the fact that this was filmed over several days, that would be fantastic. Outside of fashion content, I do pretty much just wear the same handful of outfits over and over again. Once all my flowers were planted, you can see where I sprinkled the different composts and worm castings and etc. over the flower beds. I also gave each individual plant a light watering and let it all sit overnight to settle. And we're done! I planted mostly pansies and lobelia because pansies are my favorite flower and have been my favorite flower since I was a very small child, and lobelia are just tiny and pretty. I also stuck to a purple, blue, and white color scheme because it's just so calm and pleasant. I have my basil close to the steps, so it's easy to just grab a few leaves whenever I want it for cooking. On the opposite side of the same flower bed, I have some lavender. It smells nice, and the bees tend to enjoy lavender. If you want to see the flowers more closely, I will be posting some pictures of them over on my Instagram. That's all for today. I know gardening vlogs aren't the most thrilling content, but hopefully this was a nice, calm, and enjoyable experience anyway. I'm incredibly happy to have a cute little flower bed arrangement to look at when I go outside, as opposed to a sad, overgrown clump of weeds. Not even native plants, just lots and lots of annoying straw grass. No thanks. I'll enjoy the pansies instead. I hope everyone has a good day. I hope everyone sees some nice flowers today. And with that, I'll see you all next time. Bye!